Longer period of time. Experiences on Reddit, on YouTube, and tech forums, and so on. Of data and extract actionable insight from it. And then when it opens, a display issue, and so on. You can click on review. You can also a collective experience of everyone who's ever used this product. Where Amazon owns 100,000 data points to create our model of the product from. Our product. You never blindside with online purchase. Two and a half minutes.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting that every time you say yeah, he said, I saw you a good. Yeah, really interesting. Start to go to maybe pen to like an example of a company. To protect on it, because obviously it sounds like you have some. Seemed like it was kind of, I guess, in the home a little bit.
Sure.
Your service. Someone who sees value.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
An error message on that screen. So, is this is usually off your slides. You're probably gonna have to make them a little more. I mean, and a little visual like the 1, 2, 3. It was offset. These are just small money.
Right.
Green, and I don't know about. When you, I don't have a very strong feel of your product. I think it needs to be more clear. Like you make argument like they're obviously used online, and for some reason, one of those aren't effective enough, or people don't look at the deep search for product reviews, because every time I heard you pitch, you talk about, you know, you had these problems, and then, and why didn't I know that? Oh, I went online. So to me, the way you approach that seems like it's very easy the way you found them, and you need to require, I guess, a deeper search to get the, that when you were walking succinctly and more clear, like, you know, we've solved this problem, you know, solved the review problem, and that we the depth of information to make so you have the insurance that your product will be, you know, effective, worth the money. I looked at the screen, and I really had no idea just wasn't clear.
Right.
So you really need to make that really clear. You need to make the problem. Connie. Got a haircut.
I know. It's just-
You need to solve it.
Okay.
And make it very apparent
Sure.
to someone that has no idea what you're about to tell them.
Okay.
They're like,
Being the problem we described in how.
oh, I have that problem. Get a deeper understanding, a better understanding.
Sure.
When you
That makes
explain
sense.
that. So make sure when you explain that, you know what you're gonna say and walk through it. Get quiet and turn away, and then that's when the magic stalls. So you gotta really deliver it.
Sure.
That it's clear. So that. You need to reduce the number of slides you have.
Okay.
You went through a lot of slides. And I'm sure. Right, so TV audience looking, and so they're not paying attention to that. All right.
Is it still okay to have a video done?
It's fine. Way you walk, and if you have a demo and you explain, and you need to walk through it, because it's not gonna be obvious, and it certainly wasn't there. So you just need to make it really obvious about what.
energy, or just even if you're not verbally saying anything, you guys kind of look like statues and deer. Practice that, but
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's for all the teams. The other team, you don't want to look like you're bored up.
Sorry, Miles. I was like so self-conscious about like smiling and nodding like the whole time. Like, I don't.
On stage, in front of television. Hands out of your pockets. Remember, and this is a good thing to remember, it's very obvious, so that makes it really. Is your hands? That's very natural. They're natural, and that's fine. So, yeah, but it's good to have, somewhat of a stage presence. If NAMI had anything, it's kind of hard to know.
I don't see anything here.
Wants to go next? Right up. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Striding. Get your factoids.
Yes, I need to send them.
You decide on your interview?
Yes.
Oh,
I
shit.
think
How many fans do you have?
40.
Oh, that's good. Yo, these are your friends. What are you dealing with? Oh, I don't know. I'm not.
You talk over there, big. Sorry, I'm reading this off.
Oh, yeah.
Sucks it up, no, I'm just kidding.
Who was that?
Ready? All right.
Millions of Americans enter physical therapy due to injuries that impact their walking ability. During their recovery, their physical therapist will regularly in order to determine the severity of their injuries and to track their progress throughout the course of treatment. The majority of clinics, they're still conducted entirely by the naked eye. After talking with over 50 physical therapists and researchers, we've heard time and time again that the lack of objective measures makes tracking patient progress week to week incredibly difficult and stands as a significant barrier between them communicating with their patients. My team has created the StrideLink device, which through a pair of discrete sensors that attach to each shoe collects information on gait symmetry. Physical therapists spend years studying the gait cycle in order to conduct these assessments. Due to this complexity, my team is here today to break down some of the basics of the gait cycle. First, let's look at what a healthy gait cycle looks like. The gait cycle is split into two phases. Phase, which occurs when your foot is flat on the ground holding the majority of your weight, and swing phase, which occurs when your foot is swinging forward, propelling you into the next gait cycle. The important thing to note here is that the time spent in swing and stance phase between the left and right foot is close to equivalent. This is a really important aspect of a healthy gait called symmetry. The subject with an immobilized ankle to demonstrate what an abnormal gait looks like. Here, stance times in these phases between the left and right foot is to decrease as gait becomes more symmetrical. The importance of this device goes beyond the metrics. Let's hear what. Oh, Dr. Rudd. You can start.
Start that over.
Yeah. Time in a pilot with the local clinic, during which it was used on 5 patients, and we currently have a device that's fully functional for in-clinic usage. We're and are currently discussing a partnership with Children's Hospital Colorado for usage in their remote monitoring program. We started over a year ago in undergraduate capstone, and we've been committed to seeing this invention help people since then. I have been working full-time on this company with my co-founders soon to join me after their graduations. Be able to fund continued device development for remote monitoring and pay the lab fees required to conduct research to further validate this device. We envision the StrideLink device becoming a key tool capable of unlocking being at the forefront of remote monitoring.
Nicely done.
It will dramatic example where you could see.
No, actually, I personally. The differences.
It's just hard to
Yeah,
see.
It's hard to see. the
You have
difference.
several bar charts and then you have. I don't
Yeah,
know
because the
which one I'm
difference is
looking
just
at.
like the little. black
Yeah,
box.
it's. Oh, yeah, maybe the.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Blowing something up that shows the difference.
maybe you just sort of point that point. It's not close to the eye, but meaningful.
I have no reason why I'm asking.
Yeah, this is not what,
This is the healthy one. And this is supposed to be like an immobilized ankle. Hard to tell on a treadmill,
wow,
but
yeah,
you
this
can't
is
actually like,
cool.
Two co-founders can demonstrate what those two, the right way, wrong way, immobile. For a visual reasons, just
Yeah.
if the two of you could actually demonstrate that.
We did do
Okay.
it where they walked across the stage, and then we got some feedback last week that might be.
Mhm.
Okay.
Cause it's like there's so much.
I feel like the need, maybe.
I'm just asking that you somehow emphasize.
To pinpoint something. You can see there's a 6% difference in swing time. Versus, you remember the last one.
There needs to be some, that's a complicated slide, there's a lot there, something, and people are gonna do that and not.
Yeah,
And so you need to bring something out that's obvious, either. Sure, either, it wasn't really. Has provided this information. Assumed that people would get that, and I didn't.
I know, it's a presentation. Product.
Yeah. I don't know how to stage and all that for these.
That is the challenge of having it be side by side. And like, I get that it's busy when you have like, people they're like looking up here and I'm also talking while this is going on.
But
I walk one way
you
and
need
you walk.
to do something different. And what if you did a normal gauge, and then you switch to the. I was gonna say, no one's gonna see it,
Our device.
or yeah, it's like our device.
It's up to you guys. I'm kind of on the board with that. I don't think you need any, like, walk naturally and somebody walk really exaggeratedly limping. I think the fact that your device is picking up these reality problems and figure. That may be kind of subtle. I just think you need to show, like, here's what our device has picked up.
Yeah, like really
Yeah.
point something out.
Yeah, it just
Spend
needs to
like
come
an
out
extra
because
second.
I'm really. But you can, I mean, you can think, you can try to do both either ways.
Do we have a person walking at all, or do we just say,
I think
we need, some example of someone actually walking and then.
you need to like
We
blow it up.
Well,
Yeah.
It's the whole screen.
Yeah.
And then we can take that to like actually point to like the,
Take away the video. Illustrate to the different types of walking on the screen and point that out.
I kind of want to try it with walking. And then if it's a train wreck,
You can try.
you have to. Like seeing someone walk in front of you.
Seeing somebody walk good and bad. I guess you did another way.
Incredibly important.
Why do they care about right foot, left foot?
It comes down to like
No, I mean,
what,
that plot that you're showing right there. What do they get from that?
this is stance between left and right foot. The goal is supposed to be like 60-40.
They get that, do they not get that from the?
No, this is a completely different, like it would tell you the same thing if you did. Yeah. It's tough because like people truly, if you're a PT and you've had years of
Yeah, I just now
biomechanical
got
training.
that stimulus circle was showing equal on both sides, and that would be what you would want, right?
Okay.
The importance is the difference between like spending 64% in stance, 36%.
I see
So
that too.
66%. Each difference is a different representation. And is an important part of the interpretation, much as is like the actual.
Like a summary.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
useful for their customers.
That they can.
It's like the other issue. I don't know. It's
Your goal is to
yeah.
maximize your communication.
Do you understand it enough? Not at all right now.
Now we do.
Okay. No one's gonna.
How much does this need to understand the,
Yeah.
like, value of it?
I think the most important thing, in my opinion, is tell them this is what therapists, this is like the user interface.
Yeah.
Numbers are, you know.
So we thought like super last minute. She was like, oh, you can literally tell me what to say.
What's
No,
your-
she literally. Okay, a case, little case report for her clinic, because she had someone that came in post-op.
She
Yeah.
said that in 2 takes.
And we like really put her. Something for the pitch today, and she was like, you can tell me.
I'm following the interview, it's probably a little long,
Yeah,
it's probably a little long, and she looks like she's up against the wall. I mean, I know we did this, but patient there, and the differences are here on what your advice.
stats.
Thank you, very good. Next. And where you do that, I know. Appreciate something, she was waiting on her logo, did you get that?
Can I send it by that?
Yeah. We haven't signed it.
Okay. have like a few things on my phone, we're just gonna watch it.
Yeah,
But yeah, I can definitely.
Okay.
Also just. My chance.
I can get that. I can get.
Sign up for the military or something, Marines or something, man.
Right, the guy goes, I don't give him any answer.
Yeah, if you just go on the HVAC calendar and see when the office hours are for that, you do it, and just click the link and it'll sign up and just get.
Megan,
Yes.
have you got somebody to interview yet?
I'm finalizing if they can come.
So let me get my stuff ready. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to create the perfect headshot for a passport, social media pictures. And spoiler alert, headshots, they're not going anywhere. To digitally crop them. But even Georgia Tech, with over 25,000 students, they have directory and websites every single semester. Take this one, liberal arts. You see that the first picture, the face. In this, and still we see its back product that automatically takes up roughly the same portion. Sharpens the images so that it's the same ratio. And it's automatically downloaded as separate. So we have to update our profile pictures. A paid mobile application is going to save us so much time. Then you have an even larger scale. And the government have to spend hours is going to benefit them so much with the power of Magic Crop. It's extremely low latency. Just like that, Magic Crop will crop. You drag, drop, and all 5 of them will be 1 or 2 of them. I can go ahead and recrop it, and this time I'll select. And within just a few seconds, it's cropped just like that. This room has faced, and this is the solution that we all.
Two. Okay. For Megan. I loved it. What is? Giving this to other people and then
Yes.
use it. What did they say?
right now, which is like, oh, it's just like 5 hours to get it all in written.
Mhm.
And I was hoping to have to different testimonials.
Whether you give it to the department of one of the schools.
Well, the computer science and engineering department, I know the College of Computing Media, like,
I'm sure everybody else thinks about how to best sort of sum. I'm thinking about how you can package that all in one thing.
show that people have used this. I feel
And for your product,
like. Right.
and that's, you're right. I want to say, they're not. You can't use this about.
Yeah. We're going to the part about resizing.
Mhm.
The thing I was thinking. Size it, because it's not format. To Todd's point, how do you tie that back to really show, okay, here is an industry that can actually take this and schools, or, you mentioned government, like how often does this happen, and like where can you actually monetize that, see this actually kind of growing, what specific, I know everyone can use. It seems like if you kind of just, it's great to talk about it, but then kind of narrow and hone in onto one specific industry. You can play with it, it's just something that, as I'm listening to the pitch, because the first thing it was the wrong size.
Mhm.
2 hours just trying to find the right image,
Right.
did that, you know what I mean? Then it worked, right? So I get the case there, so
Right.
just honing in and just on it if you can. If it doesn't,
Another alternative is you actually use this. There's a website right now and try yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was.
Incident on TV and yeah, that'd be awesome. You got like 1,000 users.
Yeah. Or like take a picture of the judge beforehand or then.
I think it would add anything,
Okay,
and then it might create complications.
okay.
Do it live, maybe a pause, you wait. Initial reaction is, I don't know if I would do that.
Yeah, I just thought it might be like kind of take a picture of a judge like right there.
Or that everybody's like, what is she waiting on? That would be.
even then, it's still at 50-50.
I related to the demo.
Mhm.
At one point, you were talking. You was doing a lot of things, like pictures were popping up.
Right.
And that. So, have a lot going on unless you're. While you were talking, and I wasn't listening to you because I was like, what's all going on up there? People were showing up and all this kind of stuff. And then you said a little while later, now your demo that you did when you walked through, I thought that was really good. You may not need all of it, but I like. if you're not walking it through it. Is like, we spend so much time on our headshots, and my first reaction was, well, no, I don't. Anytime on the headshot. You know, I understand the problem and the issue, you know, but once. Some people had them forever. So it was just my reaction. I was like, you know, and I don't know if people will resonate with that immediately. They would resonate with the picture, right? We're uploading pictures. Maybe you could. You know, it was just something that I reacted to right off the bat when you first we're out with headshots. Like we all have issues. Have you decided your interview person?
No. But he said that there's like a conflict.
Yeah.
Trying to think of somebody else.
Okay. Any fans in there?
Connecting in the internet.
Is it your website? You might want to consider it. I don't know how important. Looks like it's ready to be monetized. And that might.
Okay.
The right there's sitting people to it. Yeah, you know,
No, I mean, I had it on my email. The one that we used for this.
It's better. I mean, I'm just.
and some people like to start off with it.
Later, as an analogy for EFIS in our bias shoot, but honestly, glitter doesn't even do it justice. I mean, you don't find glitter littered around in the streets or randomly falling from 16 stories in the sky in the middle of Midtown. And I can tell you, after months of working with this material, like it's gotten to the point I can't even take my coworkers out to lunch. My car is so dirty, no matter how much I vacuum, no more EFS to be found. This stands for External Insulation Finishing System, and it's a widely used insulation material in the commercial construction industry due to its great thermal insulation properties and low cost. The issue with EFIS arises from the installation process because these work material, which is a process that's very similar to standard material down to specified thicknesses for the specific areas. Neighboring streets to vacuum and using the same tools that they've been using for years and combining that with cheap netting that only catches 20% of the material, or they're having thousands of dollars on these vacuum-based rafts that are bulky, heavy, and still only get 50% of the material. When we heard about how widespread this issue was, and that the EFIS industry is growing 10% year over year, and that there's 200 million square feet of EFIS being used currently in the United States, we knew that this was a problem that we had to solve. And we emphasize customer requirements and working with contractors directly from the beginning of our prototyping process. Easy to use and didn't really have any external output. With our current solution, which uses directional cutting teeth to pull the particles inward no matter which direction, to a lightweight metal shroud that simply allows the particles to snap off containment bag. Large openings that allow for a lot of the particles to come in, and with this design and through testing on our own and with the contractor, we saw our collection rate satisfies the customer goal of 70 to 80. LLC with this in mind, and we currently have, with our current menu, we are able to sell these tools for $400 a piece, and we have a contractor in Atlanta who has pledged to buy 2 of these tools at that price. And in addition, we have 4 other contractors nationwide that are interested in receiving a set of our tool each for their testing on their site at no cost. We are continue our journey as a brand new LLC, and we hope that you judges are just as are in joining us on our campaign to solve this problem. Being said, if you guys have any questions,
He's a little bit more engaged. Kind of started off telling us a story. Practice a few things. I don't know. Maybe you ask anybody in the audience here ever have to pick up glitter. Not my main point. That's pretty busy, and I don't know exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
The cool things you've got here are industry connections. I'm assuming
These are people in the, so we
they give you, are they associated? They'll be okay with you putting their names up there.
I would assume you can clarify that.
Yeah. Competition, I think I understand what you're trying to get here, it's like a competition landscape. It didn't really come across, I don't know.
I think you're saying way too much. And just as far as this, there's a lot. To really paint the picture like, wow, now that's all. So there is an incentive or reason. There's some regulatory reason if they don't.
So I have a few comments. One thing I'll say, I think you took a little step. Your pitch previously or. So I'm gonna think about that a little bit, and then, I mean, it goes back and forth, but yeah, so the slide are way too complicated, and you're not pointing out things that might resonate with people. You have these slides back here that are showing a lot of stuff, but then they don't seem, there should be visually representing things that you're articulating, and that connection is not there. And so I would really, something very visual, like this competition graph that Tyler pointed out. I mean, you really don't even talk about the competition that much, and nobody's gonna be able to see that anyway. So I would really these visuals down. Simple. Like when you want to have like articulate maybe a picture about the problem if you have one, and then why your solution is clever. You know, you could show your device how it's working. Great way.
Would it be too much to have like?
You can make it and it looks good and it's showing like why yours is better than what's currently in existence. Yeah. Fine. You know, you just gotta see what's work, but this is just too complicated and it's not helping. Not, visually, what you're trying to say. And it seems like a little bit when you're speaking, you're not sure what you want to say. So you're speaking a little, you're repeating yourself a little bit, you're kind of going around and around because you're not really sure what you want to say. And I know you had another person pitch with you. You gonna do that on stage?
We remember last week you were telling us to consider just doing one. Yeah. Yeah, no, it really
So
does.
you really need to know what you're going to say.
Yeah.
And then say that. Because it looks at times you're like kind of going around, struggling with your words. It's just, it's just repetition. It's practicing it, knowing what you're going to say and say those things. Keep it simple. You don't want to make it more complex. You want to actually keep it simple. Here's the problem. Right now, that's a great part when you talk about, you've actually sold some of these. You would be good to say. I was a little confused when you said it sounded like you sold a couple of them and the others, you were selling those too, or you give them no cost.
So we have two that have been sold or like. And then the other 4 sets, they need to test it on.
Real feedback from your real customer. Really what sets you apart, right? Off the product and or potentially using the product. That sets you apart in a lot of ways. So lead in. That's what I was talking about when you're trying to figure out what you're trying to say. Your lead in was like over half your problem very succinctly, very concise, that people will pick it up. You know, we all experience glitter, or we've experienced trying to pick up styrofoam and gets everywhere, right? So we'll get to the problem and talk about how this is a problem for the industry. You know, so just, so, you know, when you, be careful when you say words to this for everybody, whether it's kind of, you say stuff, well, don't say stuff, say what it is. It's information or it's whatever, you know. Feel like a little slang, a little jargony, a little unprofessional when you can't articulate exactly what it is. Make sure you're doing that. You also mentioned that I think some of the current methods are 50 to 70%. No, you said 50% pickup. And you're trying to read 76, or your advice picks up 76%, so 26% more. But fantastic difference. You know, this is a you know, change in the industry because we're able to pick up so much more. It saves, you know, so much time and energy. But you know, you just kind of threw it out there that currently what they do, we pick up 76%. Like, was that good? Or
There's a saying that like that.
So I just think, you know, if your advice has works really well and it's made this difference, you want to really say why that's important. You know, if that's a big enough difference that they want to buy it, you know. I think when you're in manufacturing costs, I know it's always manufacturing costs are. Some people say, but you know, when you're talking about you have to go into marketing and design and all these different things. Anyway, I know there's a lot of comments.
No, yeah,
It's fine. You have it all there. You have all you need. You have a problem. You've come up with a solution. You just need to just change that. All right. And you're doing, you got to do. You have reflex or solo? Logo? Yes. Okay. 10 you got.
10.
10 frames. All right. Okay. Team. They like spreadsheet. Down there that they say I'm part of. Okay. You read it? I'm sorry. Where? All right.
Every day you get things. And it's just the life-saving medical. Percent decrease in survivability. Sure, reflex. Reflex aims to deliver life-saving medical equipment within the critical. Have the ability to increase survival. Intervene within the critical intervention period. Funding and staffing. Or with these partnerships. Consistent distribution of medical.
That,
250.
yeah, me, if I was presenting just a slide with just the time saved and something can really illustrate the highlight. Really give people a moment to rest, saving moments. Since we hear all, if only I got.
Current EMS response time at 22 minutes. Your own response time at 5 minutes. And where people like. In general, your site. In terms of the actual use case, I mean, I like how you're comparing, I understand. Kind of differences restart. To like load it up.
Well, like the. Equipment. So right now we're just. Okay, so right where you need a spot that to be.
Partners you have listed, it seems believable, it seems like you. In the urban systems, I think that makes sense. All right, this is the biggest recommendation, seeing if you can really hone it.
I would have some of the same comments. Thing you would say after this presentation, I wish I would practice my. For one, thing, so that's why you really need to be practicing your pitch. And you want to explain less and show more. And so I really liked your lead in. It was very concise and to the point. I thought, oh, nice. And then I felt like you have way too many slides, way too many slides. Again, you want to be visual, no one's gonna be able to go through all this. Say, time saved, life saved. You don't, no one's gonna be able to absorb all of that. Slides, simplify, and it was pretty good. And then you mentioned the Grand Canyon, this work there, but then you really didn't talk about that, what you were going to be doing. And I thought that was kind of be a real. Time and lives. Now we're going to implement this. Yeah. Went off the track. We're talking about some other things that seems like you struggled a little bit on the last couple of slides. So, guys get your interview?
Anyone know anyone from Newton, Georgia?
Who's here? Everybody goes from Newton, Georgia.
Really?
You can't interview her though. I'm very honest. How many fans do you have?
Also, so we
That's the word. All right.
yeah, we submitted those.
Go apply earlier. Don't do that.
Yeah,
next week.
yeah.
It will be a problem. It's a reading.
Okay. And communities. In fact, the National Weather Service found that on average, 1,200 tornadoes hit the US, causing nearly $5 billion every single year. My name is Wesley, and I'm the founder of Zeoscola. We're an insurance technology startup that partners with insurance carriers to help their insurance
following a natural disaster through a data-driven. So now let's zoom into the complex. Homeowners have to reach out to their carriers to prove loss, but adjusters have to be sent out. Damage has to be itemized one by one, and all other claims have to be processed simultaneously. For a home immediately after a tornado, their priorities are caring for their family, buying immediate essentials, and doing some immediate repairs. A standard home policy won't cover everything and not easy or quick. So insurers. It leaves them with a gap. No matter how hard insurance companies work to stand by their promise, that gap is what homeowners are left remembering. So let's go into a real world example with solar. Meet Julia. She and her family recently went through a tornado disaster in Nashville. She's clearly distraught as her first priorities are making sure everyone is safe and buying her immediate essential items. A year ago, her insurance carrier offered a supplemental tornado policy for her home. She's now extremely thankful to have made that purchase, as her carrier proactively, automatically deposited $7,500 directly into her account. She is allowed to spend the money however she needs, no restrictions at all. As a result, after the tornado, she did not have to worry about immediate expenses, groceries and gas, temporary repairs, and lost working hours, knowing that these funds would cover her. Unlike many others in her situation, she now doesn't need to take money from her savings account, or in the worst case, resources to cover these daily needs while waiting for the insurance company to work through and settle the main claim. The insurance carrier was able to do this same thing automatically with the other customers, just like Julia in her area. He built an add-on. They need support the most, so they can worry less during these hardest moments after a disaster. We're not replacing the main home policy. Rather, we are. Our payout technology confirms the damaged area through the National Weather Service. The funds they need without needing to file. You receive the money within a few days. To ask, after a natural disaster, do you want to wait months before receiving any money, or just a few days?
Is it immediately or a few days?
This is probably.
I guess I was trying to tell a story in a world where we want to be. Like,
Answers, but it's not natural to be a lot of questions. Sometimes your mind fills in a lot of, like, jump to the worst case scenario. You're gonna automatically make all these payments out there.
insurance, other like the main home insurance.
Like maybe there's a miracle. And what are you gonna do in those? Like first, and then collect it later?
So the data is directly based off of the damage. So it's not like they're just in a general disaster zone and they're just getting money because they're in that zone. The data from here is like that whole neighborhood has been leveled in that specific area, and damage decreases as it moves out. So it's not like it's just this massive damage area that covers a few cities. It's very, very specific and local. A house by house, a street by street level. Yeah, and that's exactly kind of like where those points and polygons come in. And there will be those discrepancies in damage, whether it be like 200.
I don't know how to believe that.
We're going to be like the way, so with hurricanes, like you'll have something that will cover the entire state of Florida, for example. But like this is a small city in Kentucky, and this is a significant, like this is one of the widest tornadoes that ever happened. Tornadoes are very long, but
assess the damage.
There'd still be thousands of houses in that strip.
Yes, yeah, and like all of them, those areas, I mean, there'll be differences, like. Their house could be completely decimated, but our whole assumption of the company is that there is at least a few $1,000s in coverage there. We'll let their main home insurance claim deal with any more money that they might need, but our.
There's not understanding how the system works very well, but you know, I see the yellow. The yellow indicates some houses are.
These are different EF levels. Talk about EF because we didn't, because EF.
But then how are you really sure that?
The way, like they
Go
go,
yes or no?
not every single house is looked at.
Well then.
The building is.
For also these other expenses being in a like tornado. Hours, you'll need to drive to new.
So what happens if you
May I
make a
have your
payout?
attention?
If the insurance company doesn't lose out any.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're not even like it's not even on the insurance company's books. Like the direct insurance company that we're partnering with is not the one. Other reinsurance back end, really unassociated with the partners that the people that we're partnering.
Most of my ignorance, I just don't understand how.
Okay.
You could make a claim, or you could pay money, and a claim that would not, potentially not be filed.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's gonna be cause a problem. I'm not saying to answer it, I'm
Yeah.
not saying any of that, but there might be questions like that, that
Yeah.
people will blow. I'm not sure how to, it might,
Changed it a lot.
Because we tried to talk about more about the story this time rather than like the partnership.
and it's,
I didn't think about it more times. It's very simple, almost too simple, the way you're doing it.
Yeah.
Well, things, you know, oh, here's the damaged area, let's give everybody $2,000. Yeah. They don't have.
So to be able to add all this, like the main home insurance claim, because that the way insurance works is that like adjusters need to be sent out, like all that damage has to be itemized, like there needs to be processes and systems and to like report the claim. Like knowing that there's damage in an area, like insurance companies have this information. And the only thing that they're able to do with it is just send out, maybe they would choose to send out adjusters here first rather than sending them out here. But at the end of the day, that doesn't fix the actual claim experience of taking weeks to months for it to be settled. And then all the deductibles and supplements and exclusions that might be involved in a policy. So as a result, like we separated our policy and built. So now the question you might be asking is why don't they build our supplemental policy themselves?
yeah.
So their insurance companies have so much to worry about with their main home insurance claim themselves. Like they're still sending out checks to everyone who gets a claim. And they're like touting the fact that they can do direct deposit features that they were rolling out. And this is like, the direct deposit's been around for forever.
Yeah, I understand, like, I'm sure insurance is like banking, they're years behind. Opportunity for an insurance company to make money, the supplemental insurance game, and they're not doing it. You know what I'm saying? It seems almost too good to be true.
What we found with insurance companies is they would say it is so much easier to work with us than for them to build it out themselves and to go through the months and years of R&D and then also potentially lose out on the customers that they could be getting fast. Instead of like now they would have to like R&D on this product. Like they don't even know where to start on something like this. Like we developed all of the like underwriting tools, actuarial models to figure out all the payouts, built out all the technology to integrate. Like we're not only are we paying people out, but we're also like we completely redid the whole underwriting model. So not only can they not do what we're doing with payouts, and do a lot of the other things that we're also doing.
So and you don't have to answer it. On that insurance company that
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we don't have to address. It's kind of comes with some of those questions that you might get.
Yeah.
That you need
I totally agree.
to answer.
Yeah.
The only, just a couple, this is just about your pitch, is like, and this is for everybody, you're moving when you're
Yeah.
talking, and remember, we're the audience. So you make sure you protect the audience, so don't turn the screen, that's one thing. Because what'll happen is the camera will have to follow you the whole time.
Yeah.
And start looking like this.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
just, you're the, well, actually, let me. The judges.
Yeah.
So that's who you're. Pick you up. You don't want to turn your back or ignore the audience, so you know they're there, but you're going to be pitching to the judges.
Yeah.
Keep practicing next week. Be prepared to pitch as if it's your final round, and we'll ask